You're listening to the New Music Alliance Radio Hour. I'm Ace Housdoor. We're joined this week by David Sokol, Mark Sherry, and special guest Justin Pizzoferrato. You just heard Lou Barlow with Repeat. Before that, we had Watch the Corners by Dinosaur Jr. and starting things off, Sebadoh with Follow the Breath.
Yeah, the Lou Barlow set. So, Justin, could you give us a little timeline on these songs here when they were recorded?
Let's see. I think Watch the Corners was, out of all of that three, was recorded before the other two, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think A Bet on Sky came out in 2012, and it made number 51 on the national top 200 Billboard charts.
So that was your first year?
Well, at Sound Lab, yeah. The Dinosaur Jr. stuff actually was done at Jay's house. Yeah.
It's a really crunchy song. That one's interesting. How'd the recording process go on that?
You know, that song, I think, like, Jay and I recorded versions of that, I think two different versions many years before that final version was, and this is the only one that's actually been released. So I think that song was one Jay wrote a long time ago and just tried until finally it came together, which was really interesting. And it's definitely the definitive version. Yeah,
it's great guitar work in there. And I love the mix. I just think it's so balanced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a great song.
And Follow the Breath. What is that? A more recent one?
Yes, that is on Sebadoh's 2019 record, Act Surprised. And that was done here at Sound Lab, recorded and mixed. I mean, making that whole record was a blast. I'm a huge Sebadoh fan. I had been for a long time. So when Lou, called me and was like, "Hey, do you want to do a Sebadoh record?" I was like, "Do you have to ask?" It was pretty. It was kind of a life highlight, I guess.
Yeah, that sort of has kind of, to me, like a little bit of a Birds vibe with a little edge to it.
Oh, wow. I never thought of it that way. That's awesome. That's great.
And what about the Lou Barlow recent one? How did that session go?
You're talking about the song Repeat?
Repeat, yes.
Here? That was on a record of his that we did here at Sound Lab called Brace the Wave. I think part of it was recorded at his house, and part of it was recorded here, and we mixed it all here. But Repeat, I think the label was like, if we get one more song, we can turn this EP into a full length. So he wrote Repeat. He came in, we booked a day, and we spent the whole day recording and mixing it. And I don't even know if he had a name for it. I think he called it Repeat because we had to loop the guitar part that you hear that opens the song is a loop that goes throughout the whole song, aside from maybe the choruses or something. But yeah, that was really fun. I mean, it's a gorgeous song, and he and I just kind of like hunkered down in the studio, for like 10 hours and saw it from beginning to end. And that was it. It was done. It was great.
So Justin, when you say hunkered down, do you mean you go over it over and over again, or what is that?
Oh yeah. I mean, we were just so focused on it all day. I remember the day so clearly. It was like kind of a complicated song, and the way we recorded it was kind of complicated. So it just required our full attention, and we were like laser focused on it the whole time. But it never felt like labor, It was really it was fun and a challenge, Do
you often have songs that you record where, like this one, you said part of it was recorded at his home and then you do the rest in the studio? And how does that work, for you as an engineer?
I mean, it starts with file transfers and, all this sort of technical, boring stuff. And then, I start to listen, and a lot of times home recorded stuff has some technical issues that I then listen like, well, is this technical issue a cool one or an uncool one that I need to fix,
Mm-hmm.
And, with some of Lou's stuff, it's like, this sounds great, but, if we doubled that with a sound we recorded here, it would sound massive, or, so then it's kind of like choosing which elements to keep within the realm of home recorded and which ones you want to sort of use the studio to improve.
I imagine that can get touchy sometimes with certain people who are very particular.
Sometimes some people, they've worked on things in a certain way for so long that they're attached to it, and that's the way it is. And I try not to have an ego at all when I'm doing my work, so I totally understand that, and I'm happy to move forward that way and honor the artist's vision. I feel like that's my job a lot of the time.
to really work in the service of the song and the music.
Exactly. I read an article about how, us engineers are basically working in service of our clients. We're sort of part of the, an extended version of the service industry in a weird way.
Cool. Well, let's listen to our next set. We're going to start out with Ghosted by Laika's Orbit.